Hello, everyone. My name is Abe Almadoon, and I'm a solution architect with Cognitus. The purpose of this video is to kind of highlight some of the basic capabilities of the CogniCash AR application, which is a customized cash application developed by Cognitus to address some of the aerospace and defense specific um, payment processing, but it also addresses commercial and other types of business as well. Um, my goal today is to do two things: highlight the differences between the CogniCash AR cash application differences from standard SAP, as well as to demonstrate how the process works in our solution. The CogniCash AR is different than the standard SAP cash application in several ways. In standard SAP, there are a limited number of references that can be used to match payments to invoices. And the CogniCash AR is designed to build on the advanced Cognitus billing engine that we've built to address government contract business. So there's a lot more references that are added that can be used to match payments and invoices around government business, such as prime contract numbers, voucher numbers, CLINs, and so forth. So we've expanded the ways of matching payments to an invoice. This results in a much more accurate and specific matching of payments to invoices. Another major difference between the CogniCash AR and standard SAP is the line item matching. So when I speak of line item matching, I'm speaking of within, for example, logistical line items. So if a delivery contains 5, 6 different materials, and the customer sends us underpayment or overpayment for a specific material, whether it's based on scrapping that material, they're disputing the unit price, and so forth. For any reason, a specific item on the invoice is not paid exactly as invoiced, we're able to match the payment to that specific line item of the invoice, assuming that the customer sends line item payment details. But at the same time, we can also clear on a header level using those expanded references that I just spoke of. So we're able to match at a very specific detail of the invoice. We're able to determine what kind of match scenario there is, and we're able to create the residuals specific down to this line item. The other advantage for the CogniCash AR is that we've expanded the payment advice integration to SAP. So typically, if you have an 820 EDI that's coming in, we do that, but we've also building a PDF extraction tool to basically allow us to train an AI model to read the PDF and then feed this information into SAP. The Cash App is able to generate line item specific or header specific discrepancy reason code. So if the underpayment or overpayment is due to a discrepancy in price, quantity, both, or if it's a header discrepancy, the system will generate these reason codes automatically. And this reduces the manual need to match payments to invoices and determine the reason for that mismatch. We've also built an inbound payment advice monitoring app that allows us to monitor all inbound payments and expedite the processing of these payments. The payment process can be done either through someone processing or posting these payments, or it can be set up as a batch job where inbound payments that are meeting specific criteria that we set forth ahead of time are automatically paying and automatically posting to the customer accounts. We've also expanded the AR reporting and analytics for the Cash App. very briefly, I'd like to explain how the Cash App structure is set up. So we've built a custom table to uh, get all the invoice details generated from the system to include all the government payment characteristics. So if there's any voucher numbers, CLIN numbers, anything that our billing engine is able to generate during the billing process, we are able to capture this and put it into a custom table. On the other end, we've also developed a customized table that would accept all payments coming in from the customer, whether this is an 820 EDI, inbound EDI from the customer for the payment advice, whether this is a manual Excel upload of the payment, whether it's a PDF sent through an email and we have to extract that data and feed it into the payment, whether it's a wire transfer. However the payment is sent, we've set up a customized payment table to have all the payment information in one central location. Once these two tables are populated, the Cash App is able to find matches between the payment to invoices. And based on these matches that we find, we determine what kind of match scenarios we are dealing with, whether it's an overpayment, underpayment, exact or exact match. And based on this, we are able to clear and generate any residual debits and credits if there are discrepancies. So what I'd like to show you now is to show you kind of what we set up here in SAP. So this is an S4 Fiori only based solution where we've set up a payment advice, a payment processing tool. I'll go into this in a second. We've set up a way to also upload manual payments if needed be. We've set up an invoice monitoring tool, an inbound monitoring tool, and then a matching engine as well. So I'd like to start with the matching engine and explain how this works. So basically for each, we can set up as many rules as we need to. So in this case, I'm showing a customer number for a specific company code and specific plant within a specific sales org and a distribution channel. Let's say this is government business. We set up some rules. And what we do is we say that if the payment comes in, based on the values in the payment, we're going to match this to some values on the invoices. And we can set up some mandatory fields. What this means is that, let's say that we have 5 or 6 or 7 ways that an invoice can be paid. We would set at a minimum the mandatory fields that if the references match and the material match, we would consider a match. But at the same time, we would allow the engine to find the maximum number of match characteristics. So the most specific. So we start with the most specific matching criteria, and we continue to evaluate all the payment characteristics until, at a minimum, we find the mandatory fields. If the mandatory fields are not found, then this is considered a no match. At the same time, the engine can be set up to massage the data and clean up the data that's coming from the payment. For example, if the customer sends us a payment that has a number of leading zeros, or starts with letters, or starts with any characteristics that are not part of our invoice, we can set up some rules to clean up this data by removing the leading zeros or the trailing zeros, removing the first 2 to 3 characteristics, remove any dashes, remove any characteristics within this payment to help us find the match. So what this engine is showing us is that we can set up a customer-specific matching rules, and we can allow the system to consider all the possible match criteria and the minimum that we decide ahead of time. So this is kind of our master data. Another thing that we've set up, which is a way to monitor inbound, our invoices generated in the system with the government-specific information. So in this case, I prepped a couple examples of 2 invoices. You'll see here that we're grouping based on the invoice number. You'll see that we have line item details. So 3 material, Cash App 1, Cash App 2, Cash App 3. We can monitor the billed quantity, the billed amounts, the original invoice number, if there's any prime contract number, DPAS, or any other additional characteristics that are saved in the custom table. And again, this is customizable to the business needs of how we want to display on this invoice monitoring app. At the same time, we've created a payment monitoring tool, and you'll see that at the beginning here, we can see how many open invoices and how many payments that are waiting to be processed. In this case, I prepped an example of a payment that's waiting to be processed. This payment is one payment advice that contains 2 invoices, 1386 and 1387. And I'm using I'm going to use this payment advice to process the payment. Okay. At the same time, I've also set up this to show you that this payment advice that I was just showing. So you'll see here at the green line, this is the payment advice number. At the beige color, you'll see the 2 invoices. So the top level, top green level, shows you the payment advice information. And then it's broken down by invoice. So each brown or beige color represents a separate invoice. And then we have the line item details. So you'll see under each invoice the details of that invoice. I'd like to highlight a few things here on this screen. You will see a comparison between payment and invoice. So you'll see that the material that the customer is trying to pay versus the material that we invoiced. You'll see the quantity paid versus quantity invoiced, the total amount of payment for this line, for this material, versus amount billed for this material. And you'll also see the unit price on the payment versus invoice. In this case, what happened when we called this payment advice, the system compared all of these values and determined that the quantity paid is less than the quantity billed. So it says this is a partial match, and it assigned it a reason code that the quantity paid is less than quantity billed. You'll see another example here, for example, below on the second invoice, where the quantity billed and the quantity paid are exactly the same, but the unit price for a couple of these materials is less than the billed unit price. And this could be reason, retro pricing, or if the customer is disputing the unit price that we're charging. Ultimately, the reason for the discrepancy here is a price discrepancy. So this is, again, a minus. It's an underpaid due to a price discrepancy. In the second line of the second invoice, we'll see that the quantity billed, the amount billed, and the unit price billed are exactly the same. So this is an exact match. So in what the Cash App will do at this point is it will determine that we need to create some credits and debit memos for further processing, and we can clear the original invoices and generate any additional credits or debits that would need to go to collection management or dispute management for further investigation. You'll also see that on the Cash App here, in this case, this is a line item matching. So you'll see this icon showing that this is a line item match. But if for some reason the customer just paid us at the header, meaning only against the invoice or the delivery number, the system will automatically determine that this is a header payment. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to process this payment. Once I process, the system right now in the background is generating all the debits and credits that are needed to clear the payment and also clearing the payment. I will show you the postings that were done in the system. So you'll see here that this was successful. And if I go to show you this will show that these items have been cleared. So both invoices have been cleared. I will go back to my invoice monitoring to see what happened here. So in this case, the first one, there was three discrepancies, if you remember from here, from the first screen. And we generated credits and debits, and we have three line item specific um, uh, debits generated because this was underpay. Okay, so we created a line item debit for this specific material showing um, the reason for the underpayment. In the second invoice, we had one exact match and two lines with discrepancies. So the exact match didn't generate any credits or debits, but the line item matches generated the credits and debits. And you'll see here that there was two debits created, which show that the reason for the debit or the discrepancy was a price underpay. Now, this can be pushed into dispute management or collection management for further processing. So the Cash App that we created at Cognitus allows us to integrate beautifully with the billing engine that we've created to allow us to integrate with all the government-specific contract information and billing information. We're able to do line item matching and clearing, and we're able to do line item debit and credit creation. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and if you have any questions, we'll address them when we meet for the demo. Thank you.